60% of all people, they're going to object to stuff, but they're going to buy the house anyway. They're not looking for us to be so right so fast. They're looking for somebody who can guide them through the process to make it easier. We help people make a decision that's in their best interest for themselves that without us there as the catalyst who understand this process, they probably could not or would not do. So before we jump in with the right answers, we just ask it and we just set it aside, and we ask it and we set it aside, and they get to say no to us 4 times. Isolation process. Here's what we're going to do. So we see a buying signal, and we ask, so shall we go ahead? Let's make it into sellers. Let's go back to sellers. So shall we go ahead and list the property? And they say no, which by the way shouldn't surprise us. So here's what here's how we're really going to put. So no, If they want to talk, you see, we don't want to jump in. They want to talk. They want to give and take. Let them talk. Let them get it out of their systems. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or certainly. And if they don't talk, when do we jump back in? When we get to Philadelphia, what? Between 3 and 4, we've stayed quiet too long, and we move them ahead. Can I ask you specifically what it is that's holding you back? And then we're going to make this into sellers. And they say, well, you don't do any show houses. I thought I'd stick that in one more time. Well, you don't do any show houses. Here's my response. No kidding. My response is so it's the show houses, or the lack thereof. Let's let them talk. Remember, give and take. They want to talk. Let them do it. And they'll either talk or they won't. If they do or they don't, sooner or later, I'm going to use, and you should know, this should look familiar. If it weren't for no show houses, what gambit did I just use? If it weren't for no show houses, I just used set aside. If it weren't for that, are you telling me you want to go ahead and list the house tonight? And they say, no. Which, by the way, shouldn't freak you out, because how many times are they going to say no to you? Probably at least 3 or 4. So I'm just going to skip to the end. And I say, well, obviously there must be something else holding you back, because you're serious about, it appears to me you're serious about listing this house tonight. Do you mind telling me what else is holding you back? And they say, well, you don't do any classified advertising either. My response to that is, so it's the classified advertising, or the fact that I don't do any. If it weren't for that, are you telling me you want to go ahead and list the house? No. Which, by the way, shouldn't surprise you. See, you're getting freaked out. This is the 3rd one. Well, again, it appears to me that you're serious about listing the house tonight. And by the way, are they? Are they? Do I know that they are? Do I know that they are? How do I know that they are? Because nobody in their right mind would let me do this to them if they weren't. I'm not kidding. You know, seriously, the fact that I'm still in the room, and we're going to get to that in a minute. No kidding. I mean, so there must be something more serious holding you back. You mind telling me what that is? And they say, well, yeah, your major competitor was here last night. Ann Nyquist was here last night, and she said she would take the listing at the same price, but cut her commission by 1%. Oh, no. But we're not going to freak out. We're going to ask a question we already know the answer to. Here it comes. So let me ask you something. All things being equal between me and Annie, are you telling me that you'd prefer that I have the listing? By the way, do I know the answer to that? Yes, I do know the answer to that. How do I know the answer to that? Because she's really good. She said she would price it at the same price and cut her commission by 1%. What's the only reason why they'd ask me to do the same thing? What's the only reason why they'd ask me to do the same thing? Why? Because they want me to do it. So I need them to say that. Now let me take you back to the isolation process before we get to that. See, here's the deal. Do they really care about the show houses? Yes or no? Do they really care about the advertising? Yes or no? What do they really care about? See, I either gave them the opportunity to surrender, or at least I found out what the real objection happens to be. Number 1, it tests the close. Number 1, it tests the close. I may have been wrong. Maybe I said to this buyer, you know what? The carpet's ugly, there's a pool on the bottom and there's no kitchen. You want to buy it anyway? And you're right. If they don't want to buy this house, they are never going to let me do that. Is that not correct? If they don't want to list that house with me tonight, and if they don't want to buy that house with me tonight, they're not going to let me go to number 2. If that's true, then the opposite has to be true. This is a binary condition. This is why we do it. We close, and they say, no, get me out of this house. Oops, wrong house, wrong time. Or we say, if it weren't for that, would you want to buy this house? And they give us another objection. They want to be closed. Well, they would have shut me down. If one is true, the other has to be true. You understand binary condition? They're either going to stop me or they're not. If they stop me, I was wrong. If they don't stop me, I'm Tom now. They need somebody who will close them and make it easy for the close. So number 1, it tests the close. Number 2, it assures me that they want to be closed. Number 3, it allows them the give and take that they're looking for. They need to say no to me 3 or 4 times? Okay. And I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to debate with them. I'm not going to become an intellectual threat to them. I'm just going to let them say no to me 3 or 4 times. Let them get it over with. And 60% of them will surrender. 60% of them will get comfortable with it and they'll say, you know what, let's just do this thing. 40% will not, and I take you back to this. It isolates the real objection. They didn't really care about the show houses, and they really didn't care about the advertising. What did they really care about? They cared about the commission. Why would you bother answering the first 2? And by the way, some of you, in your experience, mine too, did you not ever get an objection which took you some time to do some research to get the answer? So you got objection number 1, you went running around for a few days to find the answer. You went back to the sellers and said, here's an answer to that objection. And they said, well, that's really good, but here's another one for you. See, there it is. And then you went running around again. A really good negotiator doesn't play that way. Either lets them say yes, or finds out what the real objection happens to be.